Pre-seed is the strangest stage of startup funding because it's money that exists before you have anything to show for it. No real product, sometimes no revenue at all. It's just an idea and a founder that somebody believes in. So let's break down exactly how pre-seed actually works, what investors are betting on when there's nothing yet to point to, and the specific mistakes that trip founders up at this exact stage. Pre-seed is the earliest capital a company raises. Before a seed round, before an institutional VC is typically involved. It's meant to get a founder from I have an idea to I have something real enough to show a seed investor. That's the entire job of this money. Here's a distinction that people blur constantly. Pre-seed isn't the same as friends and family round, even though the two can overlap. A friends and family round is money from the people who believe in you personally. No real diligence, no real thesis about the market. Pre-seed is, even at its earliest, usually involves at least some investors who are betting professionally with an actual point of view about why this space and this founder makes sense right now. The moment you're taking a check from someone who invests for a living, you're in pre-seed territory, even if the check itself is small. So who actually provides this money? Usually friends and family, individual angel investors, and a growing number of dedicated pre-seed funds that specialize in exactly this stage and nothing else. Traditional VC funds rarely write pre-seed checks directly. The checks are just too small relative to what they're usually writing when they're investing in startups. Generally, they'd rather wait to see if you make it to the seed round before they start engaging. Typical pre-seed rounds run somewhere between $250,000 and $1 million total. Now that's rarely one investor writing a whole check. Usually it's a handful of angels, sometimes organized into a syndicate, plus maybe one small pre-seed fund, combined into one single round. And here's a number that matters more than the total: dilution. A typical pre-seed round costs founders somewhere between 10 and 20% of the company. You gotta know that number. You have to know that going in, because every dollar you raise here is ownership you don't get back later. So if there's no product, no revenue, sometimes not even working prototype, what exactly is a pre-seed investor betting on? Three things mainly. The founder. Do they have specific expertise or lived experience to actually win in this space? That matters a lot. Number two is the insight. Is there a real sharp reason this idea should exist now, not just some vague market opportunity? And execution signal. Has this founder shipped something before, even something small, that proves they can actually build, not just talk about building? Almost all pre-seed deals today use a SAFE, a simple agreement for future equity, instead of a price round. It's fast, it's cheap to execute legally, and it doesn't force anyone to agree on an exact valuation before there's much of a company to value in the first place. Here's a risk almost nobody warns founders about: safe stacking. Because safes are so easy to use, founders sometimes raise 5, 6, or even 7 small safes over a year, each with its own valuation cap, without ever stepping back to calculate what that actually does to their ownership once all of them convert at the next price round. You can end up genuinely shocked at your seed round when the math finally comes due and you realize just how much you gave up. Track every safe you issue in one place and model the conversation math before you are deep into 5, 6, and 7 different contracts. If you're at this stage right now, here's the honest question worth asking before you go raise a single dollar. Do you actually have the founder story, the insight, and the execution signal investors are looking for at pre-seed? That's exactly what the free fundability assessment scores you on. It's at raise.nextroundready.vc. Only takes about 10 minutes and is completely free. I built this after 100+ conversations with investors. Take this and it'll tell you what gaps you have, what you're getting passed on before you enter the room with these investors so you can actually raise some capital. Here's a mistake I see constantly at this stage: founders trying to pitch pre-seed investors with a seed stage pitch. Inflated market size, aggressive growth projections. You built a whole narrative for a problem you're not at yet. Pre-seed investors aren't asking how big will this get. They're asking, can I bet on this specific person to figure it out? Those are completely different pitches, and conflating them is the single most common reason pre-seed pitches fall flat in the room. There's also a timeline question most founders underestimate. Pre-seed capital typically needs to last 12 to 18 months, and somewhere in that window you need to reach whatever milestone actually makes you seed ready. a working product, some early users, some kind of concrete signal a seed investor can point to and say, yes, that's real. One more practical reality worth knowing: most pre-seed checks still come through a warm introduction, not cold outreach. Investors at this stage are taking a bet almost entirely on trust, and trust travels through networks faster than it travels through a cold email. That doesn't mean cold outreach never works. It means you should spend real energy building the relationships that produce warm intros well before you actually need to check. Pre-seed money before you have almost anything to show, but almost anything is a nothing. If you want to know exactly where you stand before you start pitching, take the free fundability assessment. It's at raise.nextroundready.vc. It's free, it's fast, and it tells you which story you should actually be telling right now.